The late afternoon sun burned low over the wide Texas plains, painting the tall grass in shades of golden brown. The land felt endless, quiet except for the wind brushing against the fences and the distant call of birds heading home. Then, cutting through that calm, came the sharp, desperate cry of a baby. Hidden among the grass near a dirt road, a young woman sat on the ground, her back against a broken fence post. Her clothes were dusty, her hair tangled, and her arms trembled as she tried to hold her infant close. The baby's face was red from crying, tiny hands curling weakly against her chest. The child hadn't eaten since morning. Her milk had dried up from stress and hunger, and every passing minute made the baby's cries more painful to hear. The woman's name was Emily. She hadn't planned for this day to turn into a nightmare. Her old car had died miles back, the engine smoking before giving up completely. No phone signal, no money left. The nearest town was too far to reach on foot with a baby in her arms. As the sun slowly dipped lower, fear settled deep in her chest. Night in the open fields wasn't just cold, it was dangerous. She rocked her baby gently, whispering apologies through tears. "I'm trying. I promise I'm trying," she murmured, even though the child couldn't understand. Her legs ached from walking, and her throat felt dry and tight. Each cry from the baby felt like a reminder of her failure as a mother, even though she had done everything she could. Not far away, along the fence line, a cowboy rode at an easy pace. His name was Jack Miller, a ranch hand who had spent most of his life under open skies. He wasn't a man of many words, but he noticed things others missed. The way animals moved, the way the wind changed, the way trouble often announced itself quietly. When he heard the baby's cry, he pulled his horse to a stop. At first, Jack thought it might be an animal. But the sound came again. Clear, human, full of hunger and fear. He turned his horse toward the noise and followed it through the tall grass. As he drew closer, the scene before him made his chest tighten. A woman, a baby, alone. Jack dismounted quickly, tying his horse to the fence. He took off his hat, holding it against his chest for a moment as he approached slowly, not wanting to scare them. Emily looked up, panic flashing in her eyes. For a second, she feared the worst. A stranger, out here, with no one else around. "I'm not here to hurt you," Jack said gently, his voice calm and steady. "I heard the baby." Emily nodded weakly, unable to speak. Her baby cried again, softer now, exhausted. Jack didn't ask questions. He didn't judge. He simply slipped off his heavy coat, worn from years of work, and knelt down beside them. As he wrapped the coat carefully around the baby, shielding the small body from the cooling air, something changed. The baby's cries slowed, then softened. And for the first time that day, Emily felt a small spark of hope. Jack moved with quiet confidence, the kind that came from years of hard work and harder lessons. The baby lay against his chest now, wrapped in the warmth of his coat, small fingers gripping the rough fabric. The crying slowed to soft whimpers, then faded into tired breaths. Jack glanced down, surprised at how naturally the child fit in his arms. "You're safe," he said softly, more to reassure the mother than the baby. Emily wiped her face with shaking hands. "I didn't know what else to do," she whispered. "My car broke down. I tried to walk, but he hasn't eaten all day." Jack nodded, listening without interrupting. From his saddlebag, he pulled out a flask of clean water and a small package of crackers. He handed the water to Emily first. "Drink," he said, slow. She obeyed, the water bringing her back from the edge. Color slowly returned to her face. Jack then opened another pouch and revealed a small bottle of formula he kept for calves on the ranch. It wasn't perfect, but it was nourishment. He carefully prepared a diluted feed, checking the temperature with the back of his hand the way he'd once seen his sister do. Emily watched in disbelief as her baby finally fed, eyes fluttering closed in relief. Tears rolled down her cheeks again, but this time they were mixed with gratitude. "You didn't have to stop," she said quietly. "Most people would have passed by." Jack shrugged. "Some things you don't pass by." The sun was nearly gone now, the sky painted in deep orange and purple. Jack knew they couldn't stay out there. Nights in the open fields were cold, and coyotes often moved after dark. He helped Emily to her feet, steadying her when she nearly collapsed from exhaustion. "My ranch is a few miles east," he said. "You can rest there. Warm food, a bed. We'll figure out the rest in the morning." Emily hesitated for only a moment, then nodded. She had no strength left to doubt kindness. Jack lifted the baby gently, then helped Emily onto the horse. He walked beside them, holding the reins, speaking softly as they moved through the grass. The baby slept soundly, belly finally full, safe against Jack's chest. When they reached the ranch, warm light spilled from the windows of the small farmhouse. Inside, Jack's sister welcomed them without questions. She laid the baby in a clean crib and wrapped Emily in a blanket. Hot soup steamed on the table. That night, as Emily watched her child sleep peacefully for the first time in days, she realized something had changed forever. What began as fear in an empty field had turned into hope because one man chose compassion over indifference. And for Jack, the sound of a crying baby in the grass would always remind him that sometimes, the smallest cries lead to the biggest moments of purpose. "If you want next, I can." Morning light crept gently through the farmhouse windows, filling the small room with warmth. Emily woke to a silence she hadn't felt in days. No crying, no fear tightening her chest. For a moment, she panicked. Then she saw her baby sleeping peacefully in the crib beside the bed, wrapped in a clean blanket, cheeks full and relaxed. She pressed a hand to her mouth, overwhelmed. This place felt unreal after the long night in the open field. The smell of fresh coffee drifted through the house, mixed with the sound of someone moving quietly in the kitchen. Jack's sister, Sarah, smiled when she saw Emily awake. "You must be starving," she said gently. "Come eat. The baby can sleep a little longer." Emily followed her into the kitchen, where Jack sat at the table, hat resting beside him. He looked up and nodded, respectful and calm. Breakfast was simple: eggs, toast, and warm milk, but to Emily it felt like a feast. With every bite, strength slowly returned to her body. As they talked, Emily finally shared her story. She had left an abusive relationship months ago, hoping to start fresh in another state. She'd taken a chance on a job that fell through, and her savings vanished faster than she expected. The car breaking down had been the final blow. She hadn't been running towards something, she'd been running away. Jack listened quietly, his jaw tightening at certain moments. "You did right by your child," he said when she finished. "Asking for help isn't weakness." Later that morning, Jack drove Emily back to her car. He checked the engine himself, hands blackened with grease. "Fuel pump's gone," he said. "I'll tow it back to town." True to his word, he fixed the car by afternoon. Sarah packed food for the road, baby supplies, and slipped a small envelope into Emily's bag. When Emily tried to refuse, Sarah gently closed her fingers around it. "You'll pay it forward someday," she said. Before leaving, Emily stood in the yard holding her baby, tears in her eyes once more. "You saved us," she said to Jack. "I don't know how to thank you." Jack shook his head. "Just take care of that little one." As Emily drove away, hope filled the space where fear had lived. Weeks later, she found steady work and a small apartment. Life wasn't easy, but it was stable. Every night, she held her baby close and remembered the man who stopped when no one else did. Years passed. One summer afternoon, a woman and a young boy stood at the fence of a Texas ranch. The boy laughed as he ran through the grass. Emily watched him, smiling. She turned as a familiar cowboy approached, older now, but the same steady presence. "This is him," she said softly. "The baby you carried." The boy held out his hand. "Thank you," he said simply. Jack felt his throat tighten. In that moment, he understood something powerful. Kindness doesn't end when the moment passes. It grows. It lives on. And sometimes, it comes back to you, standing tall in the sunlight, calling you family. Jack hadn't expected them to come back into his life. After Emily and her son left years ago, he carried on with his quiet routine: early mornings, long days on the ranch, and silent evenings under wide Texas skies. Life moved forward, steady but lonely. Sarah eventually married and moved closer to town, and the ranch felt larger and quieter than ever. So when Jack saw Emily standing by the fence that afternoon, watching her son run through the grass, it felt like time folded in on itself. The boy, no longer a baby, ran with confidence, laughter echoing across the field. He had Jack's coat once wrapped around him, Jack realized. That single thought struck deeper than he expected. Emily stepped closer. His name is Noah, she said. He talks about cowboys all the time. I finally told him the truth. Jack crouched as Noah approached. Eye level now. You like ranches? Jack asked. Noah nodded eagerly. I want to help animals when I grow up. Jack smiled. That's a good dream. They spent the afternoon together. Jack showed Noah how to feed the horses, how to move calmly so animals trusted you. Emily watched from the porch, heart full. The fear and desperation of that first night felt far away now, replaced by gratitude and quiet strength. As the sun began to set, Emily grew serious. I didn't just come to say thank you, she said. I was offered a permanent job in town nearby. I wanted Noah to grow up knowing where his second chance began. Jack absorbed her words slowly. You're welcome here anytime, he said. Over the next months, Emily and Noah visited often. Noah helped on weekends, learning responsibility and kindness in small ways. Jack, who never thought of himself as a father, found his days brighter. Teaching Noah healed something inside him he hadn't known was broken. One evening, after Noah fell asleep on the porch swing, Emily spoke quietly. You didn't just save us that day, she said. You showed me what safe looks like. Jack stared out at the darkening fields. I just listened to a cry, he replied. Emily smiled. That's more than most people do. Years later, when Noah stood tall and strong, he credited his path to that moment in the grass. He studied animal care, inspired by the cowboy who chose compassion over comfort. And Jack, he finally understood that family isn't always born, it's built in moments of kindness, stitched together by choice. The Texas wind carried the same quiet sounds it always had. But now, laughter mixed with it, and the field where a baby once cried from hunger became a place of legacy, proof that one good act can change many lives. If you want next, I can.